No, like made a joke of
Okay.
I'm not sure for this.
So give everyone a couple minutes to jump on, and then
Yeah.
and you can talk to people, say hey.
Kelsey's coaching. I'm waiting for a second for people to get logged in. I'm Mel, and this is Kelsey, so hang with us for a few.
Yes.
Need the on-hold music.
I love it.
Maybe some little Kenny G in there.
Oh,
Thanks.
please. Yes. Hi, Isabel. Hi, Dustin. How's it going, friends?
Hi guys, so while we are waiting for a few more people to log on, we'll go into a little intro about what we're going to talk about today. If this is your first hot takes, this is just where all of the brilliant minds over here at 116 just kind of talk about all our expertise. We answer your questions that we've given you guys a chance to send in. We talk about marketing and agency life and all that good stuff, and mostly our dogs, I've realized.
Yes.
So Adam's in. Hey, Adam. So I'm the Executive Creative Director, Mel Mansfield, and this is...
I'm Kelsey Selis. I am the art director. And we're hot takes.
Just bullshit with you guys for a few minutes, if that's okay. No, our topic today is about creating a visual brand strategy. And so are we ready to jump in? We could talk about our dogs more, but
Yeah. We have very cute dogs.
yeah, cute dogs. Mine's being a bit of an asshole, so I feel like it'd be in the best interest of this show if I did not expand on that anymore, but I'll post pictures after we're done. Her cuteness redeems her. Anyway, go ahead.
We can jump in. You want to jump in?
Cool. So when we talk about a visual brand strategy and why it's important, I wanted to start with more about making sure that people understand that your visual brand strategy is not your logo. It includes your logo, but it is a full identity, and it is everything about everything that you put out into the wild. So it is your brand, very importantly. It's every element you use on a daily basis for your marketing. It's your brand awareness. It's the voice that you use in your writing, your videos, your social posts, your content strategy, literally everything you put out there. And it's really about the whole emotional connection that you are building with your people. So when we talk about that whole expression of your brand, it is all inclusive.
Mm-hmm. And this also is incredibly important because your visual brand strategy is how your brand is going to interact with the world. And it's important because that is not only how you communicate with people through your brand, it allows people to become inspired by it. It allows people to have a connection with the brand. It creates awareness. It builds relationships. When applicable, it makes a customer, and then it's also how you retain business. So ultimately, your visual brand strategy is more than your logo. It's all encompassing of what you're doing and your purpose and what drives the company or organization. So it's huge. You have to take into consideration.
Yeah, it's a big deal. For sure. Let's look at one of the questions that we have come in. It is, how do you remove your own personal design preferences to be objective yet effective? Good question. I don't always remove all of my personal design preferences, just because I feel like, a lot of formal training, 25 years in the business, means that my personal preferences are also important to include, but without hurting myself for patting myself on the back too much. I do a lot of research, and I'm not gonna go down the road of, pink fluffy feel goods for an automotive brand or something like that. So for me, it starts out just looking at the client's business goals, the personas, the demographics I'm talking to, and go down that road. Not just my favorite color and my favorite font. So how about you?
Design is definitely personal and subjective, but we are able to become objective through it by trusting ourselves and how much research that we put into a project, starting from looking at the competition to, having conversations about or with the client about their expectations and what they're wanting and how they want to represent themselves, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But it's hard to be fully objective. We're hired and we have the positions that we do because people trust us and because we're talented. So knowing that, we do pay attention to what is trending and all that stuff. So it is a little bit, it's hard to differentiate between the two. That's what I'm trying to say. But it can be done with research and with knowing what is best for the client. And that is the most important thing, is doing what's best for our client, making sure that they're happy, and making sure that the design is strategic and fulfills all their goals.
Yep, and a lot of times that requires a lot of collaboration with the client to continue to circle back and make sure that we are understanding and representing them in the right way. So,
and collaborating internally too. So relying heavily on the rest of our team members to, say that font looks or that typeface looks incorrect with that logo, or changing colors, or being open to that process makes us better able to be objective rather than just throwing what we want to do in there. So being open to collaboration through that whole thing is also very crucial to going from subjective to objective. Visual strategy.
Yeah, what she said. Do you want to hit next question?
Yeah.
Where do you draw inspo from?
I draw a lot of my inspiration from other creatives, whether it's on Dribble or any of the websites that people post their work to. Also following a lot of people on Instagram and social media is a huge way that I gain inspiration. Following people that I really respect here locally, in our industry, I love doing that. Talking with my peers within 116 and West is huge for me to draw inspiration from, because everyone that we have here is so wickedly talented and kind, and I love them all very much. But I also draw inspiration from simply living life, a lot of travels, and then obviously through research, paying attention to Ad Age and the Drum and all of those type of organizations and publications are also another helpful thing.
I was just going to say, you travel and leave your house?
No, not right now. Not right now.
This is the first time we've been together. I feel the same. I would repeat all of the places that you're looking for it. I do as well. I think just being aware. We had talked a little bit about how it's important in this industry not to go refill your beer when the commercials come on, but to really pay attention to what other people are doing with their brands. And so, not looking away, not clicking past them, making sure that you're always aware of what's going on. I will pack this bad boy around with me and take notes about any commercial that I see and just put little notes. Loved this, loved how they handled that. That camera angle was amazing. Love this brand. Oh, look at what this brand just did. And just kind of keep a library of it to look back to when I'm trying to solve problems. And I look to some weird places too. I think a lot of times what's happening in the music industry, what's happening in sports, or even in fashion and interior design, sometimes helps put me down a path of where I can go with a visual brand.
Yeah, and what Mel had talked about before, paying attention to how a brand, let's say you find a cool brand on Instagram and then go to their website, they're going to remarket you. They're going to get you and force their ads. Paying attention to small things like that.
If they're doing it right.
That's always a good thing to pay attention to, because that's not only, it's very interesting, and it provides a lot of learning experiences for other people within the industry, because we're all colleagues. So it's good to, be kind and critical of what other people are doing, because there are wicked smart people out there, and we all have a lot to learn from each other.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. It's always, when we talk about our visual brand strategy as well, understanding that it is really comprehensive against everything that, or includes everything that you put out there. So there's nothing more disappointing to me than when I get served a really great ad and I go ahead and do the click through and I get to their website and it's shit, because you lost me there. So I think just making sure that everything is consistent and that emotion that they made me feel and made me want to click, they can carry through to the sale or whatever it is that they're trying to accomplish. So the consistency and the reach across all the mediums is important there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So next question, what strategy do you employ when designing, redesigning, or updating a logo? So first, we always begin with a lot of research, and we always begin with talking with the client, because they may love one specific asset of their logo, or they may like absolutely be in love with their color scheme, but like they just want something tweaked, or they're inspired by, this logo or that company or this sort of purpose. So being able to gather all of the information that you need to make a very strategic start is very crucial to any sort of design or redesign or rethink of anything. Just being aware of all of those assets, all of that type of, information is a great first start.
For sure. I would echo what you said. I think probably our first step is probably grabbing a beer.
Yeah.
But like Kelsey said, I think it's all the research and really understanding what your client wants, and not just what they like, but why. And then also, I think understanding the end use of how a logo is going to be used for a brand. Is it ultimately going to end up on a package that's going to affect what we do for that logo much differently than if it's only going to live digitally? So I think there are a lot of things to understand about the future use and how the client plans to grow their brand, and really what the life of that design is going to need to be. And then also creating something that can be iterated on in 5 or 10 years if it needs to, if it needs to become an icon as people get used to seeing your brand. To that, I think the strongest brands are those that can be recognized in a single mark, like think Nike or something along the lines of that. That was probably hard to push through on that first round.
Right. Yeah.
Although that is a good story.
Yes.
All right, next question was, what is the best thing a client can do when working through visual strategy? That is a big question. Let's see, the best thing they can do. I think the brain dump is what we would probably agree on, getting all of the information about everything that the client wants to accomplish and making sure that we understand their needs and their goals, and then backing up and allow us to do the work. I think as much as we talk about client collaboration, we also need to have clients that also trust in us and allow us to run with things a little bit to be able to really do our best work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely agree. Trust, people, trust. Next question. So what is your favorite recent rebrand in the wild? Mel and I talked about this. We love Burger King so much.
Our two favorites that we talked about are food, so it's evident that we haven't had breakfast and we're really hungry, because I think there are a lot of great rebrands in the wild, but yeah.
One of them, like I said before, was Burger King. Now I want a burger. I love how they brought their old logo and just refreshed it. Like, it makes it so amazing and bold and funky and fun, and it definitely stands out. Like, it's so cool to see such a big company incorporate like a lot of really fun illustrations, really awesome motion, like kind of just full-fledged, like they just made it really cool. Yeah, it's great. If you haven't checked it out, you should.
It's cool, and I think their whole design system, I thought they set themselves up very well to be able to push that new brand across all of the elements that, create their entire visual strategy. So I think we see it on not just their logo on their website, but all the way down to their wrappers and digital ads that are coming out. And I think it's a cool trend because it just set them apart so much from some of their biggest competitors, like with what McDonald's or say Jack in the Box is doing right now. It's really standing apart from that work. And all I can think about is a charbroiled burger at this point, which is funny because the second one that I brought up that I was thinking that I liked was the Dunkin Donuts one, which I thought their rebrand was really smart because they're also known for their coffee. I think they have as many Dunkin Donuts as there are Starbucks. That, don't quote me on that, but they aren't just donuts. And so I think when they dropped the donuts, which was understood by this time, and just went with Dunkin', it was cool. And then kind of back to my icon comment earlier, most of their work is DNKN with just that mark. And so they've been able to just cut it down to this simple text icon on things like their cups. And they, just created this great style guide with iconography that's very simple and plain. And I think there's just no mistaking that brand in the wild. And they've done a good job of bringing kind of a dorky brand up into a cool modern place. So
yeah, and even the colors make sense with it too, like the bright pink, the bright orange, like how I think the style of typeface is definitely a sans serif, but it's like a really rounded fat typeface that you can't mistake. Like as soon as you see that, you think Dunkin'. At least I do.
It's kind of cringy, actually, for a designer. Let's be honest, that font's a little rough.
Yes,
but it works for that brand really nicely.
Yeah, and it works for their client base too, right? Like when you think about like the people who do want to go to Dunkin', like you definitely think about how it's very approachable, it's very fun. Like it's one of those that definitely has like a younger client base.
Yeah,
it's lively.
But I think they did a good job of taking away just the concept of pink donuts with sprinkles, which I still love. But I think the new brand is clean enough that it does appeal to just the businessman grabbing his cup of coffee on the way to work. So
they do a great job.
Yeah, kudos to that team.
All right. So our next question is, what was your favorite visual brand strategy that you worked on?
This feels like a cop-out, but I have to say it is the 116 and West brand. And I think it's gorgeous. I think we did a great job of it. But I think the reason that I love that brand strategy so much was that it really was a challenge. It's hard to do good work for yourself. We are our worst critics. And so trying to incorporate what we all felt about this brand and something that we are so passionate about is hard work. And so, I'm proud of the team and where they brought that to. But also we were able to tackle this in such a giant holistic approach. Not often do we have the ability to consider what color paint you're going to put on your office walls. We rebranded everything about this company. And so not just a logo and a new website, all of our social media accounts changed. Like I said, we did paint our office. We did do new murals. All of our glassware has our logo on it. All of our swag, all of my clothing has our logo on it. So that was a big undertaking, all the way from signage and everything else. And to be able to see that come together so nicely and think of it in such a giant holistic way was very cool. And often when we do work for our clients, we're doing it in smaller silos. I wish that all of our jobs came in at that scale. So sometimes it's hard to do that type of branding work for a client when they're only ready to do one partial of it at a time. So that's why I think I loved that project so much, just because it was so giant and so hard to get through. And man, don't even get me started on that website. Megan could agree that that was a lot of work.
I definitely agree. I think the being able to work on our own branding was very, very, it's almost like it's exactly how you talk about yourself. It's very difficult, but being able to go through that process with our team was very rewarding in the sense of we were able to create something from the ground up that completely embodies how we see ourselves, our love for our partners, and kind of helps set us on a new trajectory of where we wanted to go. Where we wanted to go, as an agency, as a business, kind of being able to put in more of the things that we value about our culture into the actual business, I think was also very rewarding for everybody.
Yeah, very cool. And we've had some really fun client rebrandings in this last year. And so apologize to you guys because I loved your work. It was a close second. A close second. Gosh, this question, I can't remember who this was. You said you knew who this question was from, right?
Who's my friend?
Cool. So the question was, there's just so much information out there. Where do you really start with all this? Because it is so large. And I felt a little bit like, hey, you should come in and we should have a beer and talk about this because this is a lot to talk about in a few minutes that we have with you today. But I think you always have to start by just learning everything you can about the brand. You got to have some really valuable time with the client and understand the brand's goals, the values, the people behind it, the personalities, everything about the brand, and all the research you can do is the most important place to start. And then goals. What do you need to do? What is the business plan? What are you in the room for? Next step, do you want to cover what we were thinking there?
Yeah. So next step on that is to understand the competition. So, not being so much into exactly like just what the organization that you're working for is in, but understanding everybody else around them too. Because ultimately you want to be able to work with your client to make them stand out. So understanding the competition that's in your region, the users, the personas, all of that will play a huge difference in the strategy that you're going to execute on. So
I think too, sometimes we've even gone as far as creating almost like a dream board with everything that all of the 5 closest competitors are doing. So here's the brand, here's the website, here's what they're doing, here's where they are in the market. What do we think? How can we be better? How can we set ourselves apart? So going as far as also doing kind of that visual comparison of what everyone else around them is doing and how we're going to pull ourselves above what they're doing. And then I think the fun part kicks in, or at least my favorite part, where we actually start to dig into the tangible work of developing that new brand, the logos, the colors, the typography, and all of the styles and decisions that are made there.
And then once that, all of the visual brand assets are decided on and reiterated on and worked through and collaborated on, we like to create a brand system. So like a style guide, a rule book, so that we can hand off all of the assets that we've created and know that, the client has their essentially like their system, like their rules that they have in order to like create this, or to have like being able to like take this brand and execute on it in the wild and have it be successful and follow the strategic rules that we set in place is very important. So that's next. Always follow your brand guide. It's there for a reason. We love you.
Follow the rules and then promote, and let it live. And I think thinking back about kind of the big picture, and this is something that we have to do a lot with even our own brand. We might get excited and want to post about something that's going on that day, but I think always having the question for the brand of, does this serve our bigger goal? Is this tweet serving a goal of anything? What are we accomplishing by this? Is this voice the voice that we want to be heard in? I think just remembering that your visual brand is not your mark, and that it is everything that you put out there, even if that comes down to, the interactions that you have with your customers on the street. Everything that your brand puts out in public is your visual mark, and I think or your brand strategy, and I think it is as important holistically what you're doing as just that one mark.
It's a full picture. It's a big picture. It's hard to do.
I don't know if you guys can hear the wind whipping behind us. It's so distracting.
It's a windy day.
I feel like our set's gonna come down, which might be the most entertaining part of this chat. Okay, I don't think we have any more questions coming in, and if they are coming in on Insta, they might be too small for me to read. But You guys can hit us up at any time. You can drop us a line, give us a call, go to our website. You can figure out how to reach us there because we would love to continue having this conversation with you.
Yes.
So hit us up. It's been a good chat. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. Follow us on all of our socials as well. So we're at 116 in West. And obviously, we'll be having more of these.
Yeah, stay
Hit us with your
tuned for
questions.
next hot take.
Yeah.
Or hot cakes,
Hot cake.
as she says.
Now I want pancakes. Thank you guys. We'll see you next time. Now get back to work, okay? Okay, bye.
That was so good.
Was it good? I'm gonna actually. Oh, hi. Bye, guys. Love you. See you. Work.
Oh,
And
no,
this,
that was really good.
was it good?